Well, hey everybody, I'm Carol Turberville, and today we have Dana, who you don't really get to see her face. You get to hear her voice every week.
Hear my voice. I'm the girl behind the microphone, but pitch hitting for Sherry today. Yeah. She is on spring break, and I just told Carol, I said, I feel like the audience that's waiting to see, Sherry and Carol, it's like they're waiting in a theater and the understudy shows up for the star and you're like, oh. But
we love you, Dana.
Thank you. We have some really good topics today. So stay, don't go. We have some really good topics today. Frequently asked questions that we hear the most from you guys, our clients.
Yes.
So
and I've not seen these questions.
Is going to answer them.
Yeah, and y'all get totally off the cuff. I've not seen the questions in advance. So just a little bit just to introduce. So again, I'm Carol Turberville.
And I'm Dana Goodman.
And we do coffee chat every week just to talk to you guys a little bit about what goes on here, what is happening in the dog world, things that may impact you now or may be impacting you in the future. So feel free to chat with us through the comments. We will engage with you as best we can via Will.
Will's behind the camera as well. So
I am here.
There he is. He will be Dana today. So we are shifting roles, but it'll all be great.
Okay, so you want to just jump right in?
All right, Will, give us that first question. All right, how many litters does each mom have during their time at Smeraglia?
So this is a complicated question. So anybody who's been around me any period of time is going to know I never have a straightforward answer, and it's because there just aren't straightforward answers.
Yep.
It's always a yes and no. So we kind of let the mom steer that ship. So we condition our dogs here, and they're all in a very strict and regimented exercise, feeding, vaccine protocol. They're on a very, very regimented schedule. So with that being said, our moms tend to cycle as they are ready to have litters. So some of our moms will cycle as early as a year and a half of age. Some of them don't have their first heat cycle till they're 3. Some of them will cycle every 6 months like clockwork. Some will cycle after 5 months if they had a litter of like 2 puppies. Some will wait a whole year until they cycle again if they maybe had a litter of 10 puppies. So we tend to let the mom steer that ship and drive that bus. So it's going to range a little bit between dog to dog. On average, they have 4 to 5 litters each.
And talk about the cycle for a mom in a year's period, one that can, have several litters. How does that, you told me that period, tell me that again.
Okay.
Tell everybody that again.
So I think what you're asking is, so as our moms enter the breeding program, they come in heat, we breed, and then it's 63 days until they have puppies. Then it is 5 weeks. I say 5 because we let the puppies steer when weaning occurs. So it's around 5 weeks that they are with their puppies through weaning. And then by the time they're 8 weeks, the puppies are 8 weeks old, the moms are pretty much, their milk is dried up and they're ready to head back into the parent enrichment program where they go, they exercise, they get fed, they get played with, they have their team member that is their person that's with them, and we check and monitor heats and wait for the cycle to start all over. On average, it's anywhere from 4 to 8 months after the milk is dried up that we'll see them cycle again.
Awesome. All right, let's see the next question. Do you DNA test your puppies and parents?
We do. So part of this is still phasing in. So we started DNA testing in 2021. By 2022, we had almost all of our parents tested and test here. The only ones that we do not have tests on at this point are the ones that the test kicked back for some reason. So the DNA test is a cheek swab, and so sometimes you can get a contaminant like food in it that then will kick back the sample. So we have a couple of those that we're still trying to work through. And then on puppies, we are phasing in testing all of the puppies. The reason we're phasing it in is because it's a process. You've got to separate those puppies for 30 minutes and it takes about 3-4 weeks to get results back. And so if we're trying to match puppies at 7 weeks, we got to count backwards 4 weeks, do DNA tests at 2-3 weeks of age, but then how do you separate them from mom and litter mates? So there's a whole process to that, and maybe in the future we can kind of talk about that a little bit more, because we actually had Embark out with us while we were working through that. We did a lot of filming, but that's something that we are phasing in. I would say right now, probably around half of our puppies are DNA tested of all of the puppies here prior to leaving and going home, and almost all of the parents are.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, next up. Why do we neuter so young when other vets say this is a detriment to a puppy's growth? We get that a lot too.
Oh, this is a hot button
Hospitality
topic.
gets that a lot too.
This is a hot button topic. So this may be one that we need to expound on a little bit more, but bottom line is, if I'm going to talk to a client who is trying to return their dog and cannot keep their dog, it is not hardly ever going to be because of a developmental issue regarding bone development and whatnot. But I am going to talk to people about behavioral issues. And bottom line is, an unneutered male dog, an unspayed female dog, as they start to mature and as those hormones start to work, you get a lot of behaviors that come on that are not necessarily preferred in the pet environment. And no matter what, there is research that certainly says there are impacts to early spay neuter and leaving those hormones in place later on. But there's also a lot of research that says the #1 killer of dogs in the United States are behavioral issues. The reason why dogs get returned to breeders, the reason why they end up in shelters is because of behavioral issues. The #1 cause of, or #1 factor that you'll see with dog biting, almost 70% of dogs that bite, that send someone to the emergency room, is an unneutered male dog. And so those are things that is just, it doesn't take away the data. It doesn't take away the fact that there may be some impacts to growth, but the other data just carries more weight.
Yeah.
It's just heavier weight of what the impact is. The other thing with that is, as far as the developmental or growth issues, we just don't see that a whole lot. We just don't get a lot of reports of people calling us back and saying, oh, my dog had an ACL injury, or oh, my dog had this. We just don't get that many reports of that. So for our particular population, all of the research just doesn't agree at this point.
Good answer. Yeah.
It's hard. Everything you do, every choice you make is about weighing risk. You know, there's pros and cons to every single choice.
Right.
You just have to make the best decision you can with the information that you have.
Exactly.
So,
all right, next up. How can you be sure you know the puppy's temperament at just 7 weeks old, Carol?
So that's a great question. And the reason is, I'm evaluating that puppy's temperament at 7 weeks old. I'm not evaluating the 10-month-old temperament. And I'll explain what I mean by that. It's a window of time of who this puppy is at this moment, and then we talk about the potential within that puppy. And you know what? Any of you who follow us on Facebook have a great couple of examples for you. Those of you who know Fletcher.
Yes.
Fletcher is everybody's favorite dog. He is happy. He never meets a stranger. He climbs in your lap. He insists on being petted, and he was the grouchiest jerk face of a puppy. If you picked him up, he was didn't want anything to do with being touched.
And he was very physical. I mean, just pound you, and
he was a jerk
Yeah.
of a puppy. But what we do is we look at that temperament assessment, we see who he is at that moment in time, and then we say, here's the potential. And with that potential, it's what you do with it. So we could have taken a puppy like Fletcher and not socialized him, not worked on handling, not worked on a lot of things, and we'd have a very aloof, barky, defensive dog who is not a joy to be around. Or we can take a dog that shows that type of temperament, socialize them like crazy, work on desensitizing them to handling, work on the obedience, work on the manners, and we get Fletcher. Maggie's another one that's a great example. She's the one that you guys have seen us going to the schools with quite a bit. So Maggie on her temperament assessment reads that she's timid to start. And anytime a dog is timid to start, I will not flag them as a therapy or service candidate, because you need to be so confident in new situations. So she's timid to start, will adjust if allowed. Well, we took that puppy and she goes to prep school. Now, if she goes straight home to a home with 5 kids who run on top of her and overwhelm her, and we go to a birthday party and then an Easter party and everywhere else, we're gonna have a dog who's scared to move. She's shaking, she's defensive, she probably has diarrhea from stress and all these things going on, because we would have taken a puppy that's timid, overwhelmed them, and made them more timid. Or we can take a puppy like that and with prep school, which is what happened with Maggie, go at her pace, work on socializing her, buddying her up with a dog who's super outgoing, build confidence in her ability to make great decisions on her own. And now she's grown into this wonderfully respectful, compliant, confident service dog. And that's her future now. So the temperament assessment isn't the be all and end all of who that dog is in the future. It's who this puppy is right now and what the potential is for what to do with it.
So I'm going to throw something in there. So when you're doing temp tests, just real quick, what are you looking for in a therapy candidate? What are some traits that you're automatically like, you can spot right there?
So a couple of differences. So service candidate, therapy candidate. So let's do 4 pretend puppies. Okay. So I have 4 pretend puppies and I'm just standing there doing nothing. And one of the puppies wanders off to a corner, comes back, checks in with me, wanders back to the corner, lays down, choose their own thing. That's a more independent puppy. Yep. Gonna be great in a home with a family that works a lot, that doesn't really need a puppy on top of them all the time.
Right.
Now, second puppy is sitting in the middle of the floor, just doing this. And not really doing anything. Okay, that puppy's timid and insecure, not really sure what to do. We're gonna keep observing and watching what's going on, and then we'll go from there. Third puppy walks away, comes back, hangs and lingers at my feet, walks away, comes back, kind of hangs and lingers, but very engaging with me. When given the option of playing with a toy or playing with their litter mate, chooses to come back and hang by me, but then also goes back and forth. That's probably going to be a pretty good therapy candidate. Their innate motivation is to hang out with people. Now, there's definitely more to it than this. This is very simplified. But now this fourth puppy is not going away from me. They are staying underneath my feet. They are actively pawing at me. They're like grabbing at my pants a little bit, or they're just sitting and locked in. Like, you are my person. What do you need me to do? What are my instructions for you? They may be a little bit of whining, but they are actively trying to engage and get my attention, get me to interact with them. That's gonna be more of a service candidate.
Awesome, that's great. Will, do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, we don't have any questions, but I did say if anyone has anything else they want to know, just ask us. We'll answer today or next week.
Yes.
But we do have Andrea said, hey, Will, Dana, and Carol.
Hey.
Renee is here.
Hey, Renee.
Kristen said good afternoon, and so did Linda.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thanks,
great.
guys. Awesome. All right, so let's see what's next. You have so many different types of puppies. How do I choose?
I don't. I don't have to. You know what? Follow your heart. At the end of the day, every puppy here is born to be a blessing to somebody. And not all of them are your blessing. Some of them are somebody else's, and you'll feel it. You know, you'll if you get that check in your spirit as you're reading a temperament assessment, or if you watch a video and go, trust that.
Yeah.
You know, how do you choose? Well, first, figure out what you love and what you like.
Yep.
Even more importantly, figure out what you don't like. And steer away from that. And then from there, we have options. And if you're willing to wait a little bit, we can get exactly what you're looking for the most part. And just figure out what you like, what you don't like, and be honest about what you're looking for in a dog. Be realistic about what your needs are with a dog.
And I would add, if you can, come visit.
Yeah.
If you absolutely can, come visit, because we see it firsthand. You know, the puppies that people come in thinking that they want, they're choosing a different puppy. It doesn't click. And they're like amazed at it. And they're like, I had no idea. And so that really makes a big difference. So if you can, not everybody can, and that's what our adoption specialists are so good at, is really getting through all of that. But if you can, come visit.
Yeah, it is, and it's all about personalities. Everybody has people that they meet that you're just not a big fan of. You're gonna have puppies that way too. And no matter how they look, no matter what the temperament reads, you either click or you don't with some of them, and visiting is the best way to see that.
Even a virtual visit.
Yes.
Any visit, because McKenna does a great job with those too, and you can get to see the puppies move around, and she's great at bringing them one-on-one to the camera and really showing personality and that kind of thing. So awesome. All right, Will, what's next?
Kristen did say that they found theirs because of one of Meredith's videos.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
Well, and that was another too. We had a pickup last week, and the video of Meredith with the 3 puppies really showed personality, and that was how. So stay tuned. Watch our videos. Watch what Meredith and Taylor and our social media team, puts out there, and that also is a really great way to help you choose.
That's a great point too on choosing puppies. One of the cool things about the consistency within our program is, as a rule, the only way you can see differences in some of the puppies is because you're comparing them side by side. So when you look at this puppy by itself as an individual, it's white. When you look at this puppy over here, it's also white. When you put the two together, one is whiter than the other one. And you only see that because you're comparing them. Same with temperament. One has some energy. One has the same level energy, but you put them together, one's gonna have a little more marginally than the other. So that's a great way to look at it also.
Awesome.
And we have one more comment. Pamela said, when we were at Smeraglia checking out the pups, Dale went to use the bathroom and Copper waited outside the door until he came out. Done.
Yeah. Oh,
that's it.
Sweet. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I mean, how unexpected is that?
Yeah. Odds are that was a service candidate.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Awesome. Good comment.
All right. Up there.
So, when do puppies leave their mom?
So this is another one of those it varies questions. So we really let the puppies and mom dictate that. So I'll use a couple of different examples on mom dictating that. So if we have a mom that is, for whatever reason, getting pulled down by the puppies or having something go on, we'll wean those puppies a little bit earlier. We'll still do a lot of hand holding with them. We'll do lots and lots of interaction with them. We also have nursemaid moms that do really a great job of kind of subbing in to help with that weaning process as needed. But we're always going to operate in the best interest of our moms and our puppies. So there's times where the mom kind of steers that ship. We also have puppies that steer it sometimes. And so we actually have a litter right now of 9 puppies. And 3 of the puppies weaned a little earlier just because they were ready to wean earlier. They were ready for those next steps. The majority of the litter, the next 5, they weaned right on time. And then mom at 7 weeks is still hanging out with a couple of them just because they just needed a little more time. They were not mature enough yet to be ready for that next phase. Their teeth aren't all the way in yet. There's just a couple of things that we're watching for. So we really let the puppies steer that. As a rule, so we do weaning as a process. So as a rule, at 4 weeks, we transition from suck to lick. And then, so basically sucking from either a bottle or mom, then to lick, which is lapping up the milk out of a bowl. Then we start transitioning to chew, which is now it's gruel. And usually by the time the puppies, the 5th week is where we're weaning. So by the time they're 6 weeks old, most all of our puppies are weaned.
Awesome. Great.
We do have another question for y'all.
Okay.
How do you determine size by weight, or some of the smalls look very large?
Okay, so, okay.
I mean,
We basically do the average.
But
Yeah, I can answer.
Right,
So we do the average. So puppies can be as large as the bigger parent, as small as the smaller parent. Most of the puppies falling as an average. And I'll use another example. A litter that we've done in the past is Honeymoon to Brooklyn. So Brooklyn was a 55-pound golden retriever. She's just retired now. Honeymoon, a 9-pound poodle. So puppies can be as small as one parent. We have Haven, who is a 12-pound F1 Goldendoodle. We have Hudson, who is about 18-pound Goldendoodle. He's a little chunky right now, so he might be closer to 20, but about 18-pound. Then we have Harmony, all the same litter, who's a 35-pound Goldendoodle. And so you can get some vary. So what we do is we average that. But we also have rules that we have to follow. Meaning you're only allowed to go down one size per generation.
Okay.
So by breed, golden retrievers, even if they're 40 pounds, are considered large because they're golden retrievers.
Right.
So if a golden retriever is a parent, medium is the smallest I can come to. So to use that previous example of Brooklyn and Honeymoon, we have 12-pound Haven, who's technically a medium Goldendoodle because of the rules that we have to follow. So then an F1B, being another generation, the smallest that it can go is small because it has a golden retriever as a grandparent. So we have to get to F2B, F1BB. We have to get down a couple of generations before we can get to extra small. But that's where some of the variants will come in. And we try really hard to make sure that we communicate the size of the parents and even the size of grandparents, because sometimes we will see, like, if we breed Harmony, say the example I just used where you had a 9-pound Honeymoon and then a 55-pound Brooklyn as her parents, she's 35, 34 pounds. We breed her to a dog her same size. The average seems like it would be 30 pounds, but I wouldn't be shocked to get a 12-pound puppy out of that because they're going to pull on Honeymoon's genetics.
Wow. Yeah.
So really good to, you get lined up with a litter based on what the parents' weights are, but then watch the trends. So at 7 weeks, I really try to encourage clients to wait until temperament assessments to really kind of hone in on the puppy. Number one, because temperament rules. We're not going to have, as a rule, people not wanting or not being happy with a puppy because of a size or a coat type. It's going to be because the temperament wasn't right. So let's first make sure the temperament, but we can also see that. So in that Harmony litter as an example, we might have 4 puppies that are all 8 pounds and then another puppy that is 3.5. Okay, the 3.5 puppy is probably trending much smaller than the rest of the litter at that point. And we can see that at that age.
Awesome. Good deal. That was a lot of information, Carol.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was kind of doing, I think I'm following.
Y'all
But-
ask follow-up questions if you need.
Anyway, so does breeder's pick mean it's the best puppy out of the litter, and how is this chosen?
Not necessarily. So the breeder's pick spot is there for a couple of reasons. So reason one is because it's the breeder's pick. The reason why we're able to be here year after year and generation after generation is because we keep dogs to continue breeding. We breed for our own breeding program.
Yes.
Another purpose of the breeder's pick spot is because we never want anybody who has been waiting on their puppy and has been matched with a litter to be told, I'm sorry, we don't have a puppy available for you. And so let's say when I do temperament tests, I get a puppy who's resource guarding. We're not gonna let that puppy be available. We're gonna hold that puppy back so we can work on the behavior. But if we allocated every single puppy from the top down, then I've got to say to somebody, I'm sorry, you can't have a puppy. And so we hold that spot so that we can put puppies in that spot that have a need. Let's use the example earlier about weaning. Okay, so that mom's still got a couple puppies at 7 weeks. I'm supposed to be doing temp tests Thursday and those babies are still with their mama.
Yeah.
So those puppies will go into the breeder's pick spot so that they can have the time that they need. They'll be released later on. So we utilize that breeder's pick spot in a few different ways.
Yeah. And I absolutely love that you let the puppies dictate that. It's not like, we got to get them out of here. We got to get them,
Right.
You know, it's, let's make sure that they are absolutely where they need to be before they move on so that they can be the puppy they're meant to be.
Absolutely.
Which is awesome. I love that. Awesome. We got any more?
We have a couple comments and one more question.
Okay.
Linda said, I saw Charles and Sherry showcasing Merlot Orange Milo. I knew he was the one. Teddy is now in prep school for 16 weeks, and we can't wait to bring him home.
Oh,
Awesome.
congratulations.
Teddy. That's awesome.
And then Renee said, Pierre and Paxton are both extra small schnoodles, but Pierre is twice the size. Paxton is 11 pounds at 4 years, and Pierre is 6 months and 13. And then our last question is about when do they stop growing?
So that's going to vary from size to size. So the larges are going to grow. That also varies depending on whether or not you spayed or neutered. So larges tend to grow until anywhere between about 18 to 24 months of age. If you leave them intact, for some of the really big ones, they're going to continue growing even into their third year.
Wow.
Now, on mediums, they're going to be closer to about 12 to 15 months of age as they're growing. Smalls are going to be to about 12 months, and then extra smalls are going to typically be done between 9 and 12 months.
Okay, so the bigger the dog, the longer
it takes.
The smaller the dog, the less time it takes. Okay, interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was all sort of like around a year, but
Yeah, some of those big dogs will keep on growing on you.
keep on growing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And most dogs, it's really interesting too. They're going to get typically their height first, and then they're going to fill in and kind of thicken up across their body. And so, especially with the large breed, usually you're going to have the bulk of the height by the time they're a year old. That's why a lot of times you talk about, oh, they're done growing at a year, but they're still going to fill in. They're going to get that depth of chest. They're going to get cheek. They're going to get their head in, that kind of stuff. So.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I think we had some great questions. We hope we maybe hit on one of your, questions that you've had before for our staff, and it's been great, Carol. Thank you.
Yeah. A great week having you here.
I know. Thank you so much. You guys have a great rest of the week. And if you have some questions, please leave them in the comments. We do look at that, and we will get back to you on that. And see you next week.
All right. Bye-bye. Y'all have a great
Bye-bye.
rest of your week.